Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPad mini first generation and see if this particular iPad is still worth buying in the later part of 2024. Now, I think a majority of you probably know that an iPad like this is probably a little bit outdated as of this point. It's a little bit of a, older device. Now, when you look at the outside, it doesn't look like a super old phone or super old iPad. I think that's the very surprising thing about an iPad like this, because it genuinely doesn't look that bad. It still looks like a pretty interesting, iPad. I think in some ways you could make the argument that this thing still is like a pretty decent holding up, decent device that holds up pretty well. When you look at the front, you're getting a 7.9-inch IPS LCD panel, and it's a pretty decent looking display. It doesn't really get that bright. It is a fairly outdated type of design because you're getting pretty thick bezels on it. And, that's just kind of what ends up happening when you're getting these types of devices. But I do think in some ways that this device does hold up decently well. Like, the panel itself isn't ugly. And I do think that's a nice thing going on for this type of device. You're getting the fingerprint sensor at the very bottom, which again is very cool. A lightning port at the bottom, headphone jack. Some pretty basic stuff for the most part here, nothing super insane that we haven't already seen before, but still I really do appreciate and like having devices like this because they still look and hold up very nicely when it comes down to that kind of stuff. Now on the backside, single camera setup for the most part, not really anything else super crazy going on here either. And for the most part, the biggest downside of this type of iPad, as you probably would have expected, is the software. This type of iPad is already done getting software support, and that is essentially the problem that you're going to be experiencing with this type of device. And that is why when you're going through and getting an iPad like this, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to go ahead and first of all buy an iPad like this, because it's already done getting software support, and it's been done getting software support for years. This thing apparently stopped at iOS 9. We're almost at iOS 19. This thing has been outdated for years now. So from that side too, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense to go and buy an iPad like this because you're already buying an iPad that's going to be outdated by the time you buy it. So I definitely do like a lot of iPads. I like a lot of devices that have came out. With this iPad, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense to go ahead and buy it because it's an already outdated device by the time you go ahead and pick it up. So from that side too, I really like these iPads. The mini lineup is really nice, but from this side, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to go and buy it. Now, on top of that, the performance of this iPad, it's giving you the Apple A5 chip inside of it. So that really isn't that great of a chipset anymore either. I think it's about the same thing as like an iPhone 5 or something like that. So from that side too, that's not really that great of a performing iPad, right? As you could probably imagine, this type of iPad isn't really going to be performing that well when it comes down to that side. And if you're going to buy an iPad, in 2024, going into 2025, you probably want to go ahead and buy an iPad that's going to be giving you a little bit of a better experience there. And I just would hate to recommend an iPad like this if it's already done getting software updates, if it's already kind of finished up there. Like I said before, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to go and buy it. So overall, although this iPad really isn't worth buying anymore, there are still a lot of iPads I would recommend buying. Things like the iPad mini 6, I think, is a really good iPad. The mini 7 that just came out. Even the iPad mini 5, if you really want to, you can buy that thing. But I wouldn't recommend going below the iPad mini 5 or below like an iPad 8th generation. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there for the most part. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.